Hey, all you cool cats and kittens. What this is going to be is a follow-up video to the video you've already just watched, probably, from section 4.2, part B. So this is, I guess I'm calling this part 2, notes part 2. It's a follow-up video that hopefully should make things just about as crystal clear as they can possibly be for you going into your quick little 4.2b homework assignment. So here we go. You're supposed to sketch the graph of all the linear equations, right? Of each linear equation, you're supposed to first sketch the graph, and then in part B, you're supposed to identify what the slope of the line is. Remember, linear equation literally means that the graph is going to be a line. Now, hopefully whatever I was trying to get across in the first video for 4.2b got across to you. When you have a very special looking equation, when I see equations like this, I go, that only has the letter y. And equations like this only have the letter x. Usually, and I'm just going to write this down for effect, usually you see equations that are linear have both an x and a y in it. That's the norm, to have an x and a y. But we're going to be, I guess, trying to follow up here on, well, this equation only has a y. What does that mean? And here's what it means. It means this line is going to be horizontal. Remember from the video you probably just got done watching, this memory trick summarizes things quite nicely. And see the y right here? If your equation only has a y, and it's y equals just some number, just like this guy, y equals 1, then your line is going to be horizontal. So here's what we do. Now, a little more detail here that I need you to listen to. I intentionally made this xy plane about as plain as it can be. Get it? See what I did there? See what I did? Right? And this way, because you should have no problem, even let's say you don't have a printer, which is probably most of you. You don't have a printer. So you got to grab some extra notebook paper or something and draw your own plane. No big deal. Just drawing an x-axis and a y-axis on separate paper is simple enough. So I made it this simple on purpose. No grid or anything fancy, okay? You don't need a grid here, actually. And that also helps. So here's what we do. When you see an equation like y equals 1, you go on the y-axis to 1, which is probably about right there. It doesn't matter. Just kind of maybe label it. So you go to 1 on the y-axis, and that's where you draw your horizontal line. That's it. So y equals 1, it's horizontal, so you go to literally y equals 1 on the y-axis, and that's where you draw your horizontal line. Now, as far as the slope, that's easy because just like it says up here in the memory trick of Hoivux, this O is actually a 0. And that reminds you that the slope of every horizontal line in the world, if the line is horizontal, then the slope equals 0. So another one for y equals, once again, it's y equals -5, and that's it. So that's going to be horizontal. So what we do is we go to -5 on the y-axis, which is, wherever. No need to be like super perfect here. So there's -5, I guess. It doesn't matter. Just kind of label it. And that's where you're going to draw your horizontal line. That's horizontal. Yeah. And then your slope, considering that it's horizontal, will always be 0. All right. Now, the other part of Hoy-Vux was the Vux. And if your equation only has an x, and it's like x equals something, then your line is going to be, what's the V stand for? Vertical. So your line is vertical. So very similar to the first two problems we just did. All we do is we go to 2 on the x-axis. We literally just go to x equals 2, which we can just kind of put wherever. Okay, and there it is, x equals 2. And we draw our vertical line as best we can. And that's it. That's it. And as far as your slope goes, well, likewise here, this u is a clue or a reminder what your slope is. And this u stands for undefined. In a very interesting, at least I think so, plot twist, vertical lines don't actually have a slope. The slope doesn't exist. So you could say undefined, which is literally what that u is reminding you of, is standing for. But you could also say that there is no slope at all. Or you could say like the slope does not exist. It all means the same thing. The slope doesn't exist. There's no slope at all, or the slope is undefined. Probably in the last video I mentioned how we were like dividing by 0, which you cannot do. If you actually went to calculate a slope with rise over run here, the run is 0. It's literally 0. So you'd be dividing by 0, and that's why your slope doesn't exist. You can't divide by 0. All right, one more quick example. By the way, I guess I goofed a little bit before I printed this out, and I don't know. Maybe I'll correct that before I send this to you, but that's obviously number 3, and whatever, who cares? Who cares? So once again, another example of just x equals -3, so we just go to x equals -3, and we draw a vertical line, and that way the slope is that it is undefined. Every time it's a vertical line, your slope is undefined. Every time your slope is horizontal, your slope equals 0, and that, people, is all there is to it.